You know, there's a kind of misconception that medieval disputes centered on silly and ridiculous questions, like how many angels could dance on the head of a pin, to take a familiar example. And it's certainly the case that if you run through the list of titles of quodlibetical questions, you're going to see all sorts of different questions. One of my favorites is, if a man has a withered hand and a healthy hand, and he commits a crime for which the punishment is amputation of one hand, should his withered hand or the healthy hand be amputated? This looks like a very silly question at first, but we can also see that behind the question harbors real concerns about the nature of justice and punishment. There's another question that comes up often. We can see that some of these questions, in fact, that crop up over and over again are proxy questions in some way for a particular political or intellectual disagreement that underlies them. So for instance, one of the question topics that was banned at one point by the Pope, because I guess he really got tired of people disputing it all the time, was the question of whether Christ and the apostles owned property. And the reason this was such a popular topic was because it was central to the dispute among the Franciscans about how to live out their vow of poverty. This may be surprising given the reputation that medieval philosophers have for debating extremely abstract and abstruse problems, but the arguments that they come up with and the positions that they hold have tremendously important practical consequences. For instance, one of the most exciting theories, I think, that can be found in Thomas Aquinas and other thinkers is the view that the exercise of particular activities, or the inability to exercise those activities, does not affect your underlying identity as a human being. And so if for some reason I'm in a terrible accident and I'm not able to walk, or I'm not able to see, or I'm not able to think or reason, that doesn't change my fundamental humanity. And I think this is a really important distinction when we're thinking about disability and we're thinking about care for the disabled and for those in need or for the sick, that not being able to perform a function characteristic of human beings does not detract from one's fundamental humanity. And so we can see that sometimes these very specific questions are seen, they fulfill the role of a kind of thought experiment in a way, or a kind of flashpoint, that if you could solve this problem, you would be able to have your answer to this more fundamental difficulty.